Thank you for joining me in the MPP Hour. I'm your host, Massimo Parlermo. Today I have with me as my guest, Joffre McClung. Joffrey is a spiritual personal growth author and teacher. He is also a host of Spiritual Common Sense on HealthyLife.net, a self-love advocate and an independent filmmaker. Joffrey has began her career as a theater actress in New York City. She has acted on stage and film. Then she wrote, produced, and directed 2 independent films. All these accomplishments were prior to her moving back to Texas to care for her dying mother. Now, I would like to welcome to my show, Joffre McClung. Hello, Joffrey. Welcome to the MPP Hour.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. I'm actually thrilled to be talking to you. I'm excited what you're going to be asking.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to ask a whole lot of questions. I'm going to basically have you talk to me and have a nice little conversation. Let the audience get to know you, about your books. Maybe I think you are working on a third book as well. So you've written a couple books. If you want to talk about as far as back as you want to go, if you want to start with, your career in New York before you started writing and producing and all that, that'd be great too. So why don't you, introduce the audience to Joffrey?
Well, all right. Well, I am Joffrey, and I grew up basically in Texas. And I announced when I was 8 years old to my parents that I would be moving to New York. And they kind of laughed, and I did move to New York. I moved right after college, went straight to New York City. It was a wonderful time, an exciting time in New York. I just took jobs just to get used to New York City and then began to do acting jobs. And I did some acting work and then began to add producing because I did not want to wait around for people to hire me. I wanted to be acting. So I ended up producing different shows and ended up producing 2 off-Broadway shows. I was in them and produced them, and that was tremendous fun. That was in my 20s, and so I was having a good time in New York,
Mm-hmm.
doing the club scene and doing my plays and all that good stuff. And then I turned 30, and life began to shift a little bit for me. And I realized I needed a very good job, not just doing acting and some commercial work and stuff. I needed a good job so I could keep moving forward. So I ended up doing, I did some, well, I'll use the French word crapola jobs that I did for a year and a half advertising. I did some work in that area. And I lasted a year and a half and then I would quit. And then basically what happened is my dad had a heart attack. So I basically left New York for about 3 years, 3.5 years, came back to Texas to run his book company because he wrote law books. So I ran the company for him for about 3 years, and my dad was healed, and they ended up traveling while I was here. And then I did something kind of wacky. All my friends who were in New York, one of them moved to Europe. He was from Louisiana, and he moved to Paris. The others moved to LA. So while I was in Texas, I thought, well, maybe I should just move to LA. That was a big mistake. I moved to LA. I lasted 6 months.
Wow.
6 months in LA. It's a beautiful, beautiful town, beautiful city. I love the beautiful trees, but it's very suburban. And you've got to get in your car to go everywhere. And it just is also everything centered around acting. While in New York, I could be an actor, but I could be talking to somebody from Wall Street or
Mm-hmm.
somebody in the fashion world. In
Mm-hmm.
LA, it was all about fashion. And here I was 30 years old. I was already too old for LA. So I left LA, came back to Texas, worked a little bit longer. Then I moved back to New York. I had done my inner work, my inner homework. So when I moved back to New York, I got a TV job and I became a senior TV producer. Did that for about 15 years, loved it. I got to shoot the B rolls and direct those, which was exciting. And then the days we did the satellite media tours, which is basically when you're watching the news and you go, oh, we're going to talk to so and so in New York and find out what the great gifts are for the holidays. I am producing what they're talking about in New York. And that was great fun. So I
Yeah.
did that for about 15 years. And then
So
go ahead.
sorry, I was going to say. So the producing of the shows were like news shows, like
Yeah,
on.
I was on the
Okay.
morning news shows. And
Okay.
this is before today ended up being 4 hours long. This is
Okay.
before today went to 4 hours long. And I think Good Morning America is four
Right.
hours long. It
Yeah.
was when they did 2 hours and then they cut to local news
Right.
for an hour and a half. And we would throw our satellite miniatures, gift ideas for dads, uh,
Mm-hmm.
graduation gift ideas, holiday
Okay.
gift.
Okay.
So I produced all of those, and it was so much fun.
Hmm.
I absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
Uh, but then I got the news that my mom had cancer.
Hmm.
So I knew I did not want my mom to be alone.
Hmm.
Now, during my, I should take it back a little bit since you want to know a little bit about my life.
Yeah.
During
Hmm.
my TV producing days, I was making tremendous money. First big money I was making. And so what I did, I had made short films before. I had my friend who moved to Paris had made a couple of shorts, and I was in them, and then ended up co-producing one of them with him. So I'd had my fingers in the film industry a little bit, besides doing extra work and under five kind of things. I ended up, while I was TV producing, making my first feature film. And I paid for it myself because I was making that good of money. And I
Wow.
did it really under the budget. I did it in 10 days, shot it in 10 days. We came back to Texas to shoot it because it's a right to work state, which I'm against, but I was for that while I was shooting my film. So I shot my film for 10 days and edited it when I went back to New York and edited it there, did the sound production in Seattle. I found all these different pockets that you can make inexpensive films with. So I
Hmm.
shot my first feature film while I was doing my TV production. I had to toot my horn about that. Just
Okay.
that was a
Tell
big
us,
deal.
tell us more about this film. What kind of film was it? Like,
Well, it was supposed to be a short film because I thought, well,
hmm.
I'll do my first directing as a short film. And I wrote it, and it was a feature film. And
Okay.
it was called Best Wishes, and it was set in the 1950s, 1952 Texas. And it's a fantasy. Let me just say, it's a fantasy in the sense two women make birthday wishes separate. They live separately. One's a Black woman, and I play the other woman. We make wishes, and our life's not so good at the moment. My husband's a little bit, and she's lost her husband. And we make wishes, and the universe brings us together,
Oh,
and we
okay.
become good friends, and we end up opening a bakery together. That's why I call it Best Wishes. But it was a lovely film, and I ended up doing festivals with that, and I did win. And surprisingly, I did make it in Fort Worth. I won the Fort Worth. I won the festival of Fort Worth there, which makes sense. But I did film festivals all around the country, and it
Hmm.
was great fun.
Hmm.
Uh, I would do some things differently, but it was my first film, and it
Yeah.
was supposed to be a short, and it ended up being a 90-minute feature film. But
Okay.
I jump, Massimo, when I do something, I jump in the deep end. I don't wade in. I jump in and go, let me make
Right.
a feature.
Right.
So it
You
was
go
very
all the
fun.
way in, right? All the way
I
in. If you're
was
gonna do
all,
it,
and
you're
it
gonna
was
do it all
more,
the
and
way.
there was only 10 of us shooting it, 10
Hmm.
crew members only.
Hmm.
And I did all of it on my own budget. So I'm really proud of that, I have to say. But then I moved back to Texas. You know, we all get those calls that our parents are sick. I know you lost, was it your dad
Yeah.
recently?
My
Yeah,
father.
and it shifts your entire world 180
Hmm.
degrees because you got to get in the mode.
Right.
Uh, and I got the call that my mom had cancer. So I talked to my boss, and I could fly back to shoot the satellite media tours the days we had them, and I could of course sell them from Texas. So he allowed me to move back to Texas to take care of my mother,
Hmm.
which I got. He was the best boss. I have to say his name, Paul Gorvitz,
Okay.
was the best. And I had so many jobs, and so many of them were crapola. He was the best boss I ever had. So I have to toot his horn. He allowed
Hmm.
me to come back, and I took care of her for 2 years before she passed.
Yeah.
Uh, did your dad get diagnosed with illness, or did he just
Yeah.
drop dead in a sense?
Um, he he had been battling two things, diabetes and dementia for a couple
Oh,
years.
okay.
Yeah, and then finally when just before his 90th, right after the pandemic kind of all struck down, his condition got worse and worse, right? And then finally, right after his 90th birthday, just a little over a month after his 90th birthday, he ends up going into hospice, right? So 6 weeks after he was diagnosed at the hospital with what he had, to go into hospice, he passed away. So yeah.
So it was shocking and yet not shocking in a sense, because dementia, you kind of know they're going to go down that path at some point.
Yeah, it wasn't shocking. I mean, it wasn't shocking to the fact that we knew his condition. He'd been battling it for a while. You could tell, like when he was in his 80s, he was starting to lose his, sense of memory. He's like
Hmm.
saying things, I forgot what I was doing, and you could just start sensing it, right? In his 80s, and they were kind of diagnosing early on that he did have early stages of
Mm.
dementia, but he was battling diabetes just before that, and then I think like once he got to his mid 80s, late 80s is really when it really started to take a toll on him. I mean, he barely ate, and his memory was so shot. He didn't know who we were. I mean, I could literally, I was taking him to the doctor. I'd come back home, I'd bring him back home, and he'd look at me like, I don't know who you are. It was like, yeah, it was just, it's a very painful thing for not just for the patient, but for the loved ones
Oh,
too.
I think the family hurts when somebody has dementia
Yeah.
or Alzheimer's or whatever in that
Mm-hmm.
genre.
Yeah.
I think it's worse for the family because the one who has it doesn't really know that they've
No.
forgotten you.
Right. Right.
But those who do know, like I'm sure you were heartbroken. I
Yeah.
mean, it just breaks your heart.
Yeah. It really was. It's
So,
very terrible. It's a very terrible disease. I hope they do come up with something to help folks that do get it down the road, because I guess they're supposedly getting more medicines or something to help out with
well,
those.
hopefully
Yeah.
they'll figure out a way to cure it so nobody
Right.
has to get it
Right.
anymore.
Exactly.
But loss is something. I went through loss. Like I said, my mother had cancer,
Mm-hmm.
and then after 2 years, she passed away. Now I knew she was going to die. She was terminal. So
Mm-hmm.
I did my meditations. She had a pool, so I'd get on the float and I would just boohoo and do a meditation and get the grief off, so I could be present for her during the day
Mm-hmm.
and be with her and laugh. And we had a lot of laughter, a lot of fun. But I'd get on that pool float and just bawl my eyes out. And in my meditation, I'd fall into my higher self's arms, or whatever word you want to use, just to get some loving so I could be there for her. And then when she passed, I just went through grief.
Mm-hmm.
For 2 years, I did my work for Paul, did the desk, and I'd lay on the sofa and just stare at TV and not even care what I was watching.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, it'll take about 2 years to get over it. That's what I told myself. So 2 years was coming up, and I thought, I'm going to be feeling better soon. I wasn't feeling so good so far. And I was doing my inner homework too on self-love, which
Mm-hmm.
brings up your past pain. So I was doing grief
Mm-hmm.
and past pains. So I was
Mm-hmm.
in the depth of it.
Right.
So I thought, I should be coming out of this soon, right? 2 years, I should be coming out. The universe had a different idea. I got a call from my best friend, and she'd
Mm-hmm.
been my best friend since we were almost in college.
Mm-hmm.
And she had breast cancer.
Oh.
Now she'd had it before and had
Mm-hmm.
her breast removed. But now it had gone to the bone.
Ooh.
I just boohooed when I hung up, and I said, I'm going to lose another one. It was like, oh my God.
No.
So
Yeah.
loss was my big teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I ended up writing my first book, How Learning to Say Goodbye Taught Me How to Live, because I was going to go through grief again. And I was just said, I thought I was going to come out. Now I'm going back into it again. And I did a meditation, and I heard my higher self say, well, you should write what you've learned. Because I needed to be creative, because I didn't have a dream. And if I don't have a dream, take me off
Mm-hmm.
the planet now, because I got
Right.
to have a dream. Don't
Right. Right.
you feel that way? If you don't have a
Yeah.
dream,
Yeah. I mean, I'm
what are
like
we
right
doing
now.
then?
Yeah. Exactly. I
Yeah.
mean, my dream right now is to build up my YouTube channel and my author career and everything else that comes along with it. So yeah, absolutely. You got to have something to focus on.
Something. So when you
Yeah.
don't have a dream, it is scary. So
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a dream. I thought, well, I'm not going to make movies. I'm here in Fort Worth, oh my God. And she goes, why don't you write what you've learned? I said, what do you mean what I've learned? About self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And I had not called it self-love. I was just doing the inner work to get out of my pain and get more comfortable and more loving to myself. I had not used the word self-love. When she said the word self-love, little bells went off in my head. Yeah, that's what I have been doing. I've been healing my past wounds, what I call your inner orphans. I've been dealing with my anger and my rage that I had not dealt with as a child. I've been dealing with it all. And I thought, you're right. I have gotten back to self-love. So I began to write slowly the book as I was helping my friend deal with her breast cancer. And I wrote it the last, I think, 7 months that she was here. I wrote it every day, just wrote little pockets of it.
Mm-hmm.
And when she died, I wrote it literally as she died. I wrote the last chapter about her dying.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it was scary, Massimo, because I was writing personal things. My films
Mm-hmm.
were fictional.
Right.
I didn't live in 1952, and I didn't
Right.
have a best friend that I ended up opening up. These were all fictional. And now I was writing nonfiction and sharing my private life. That scared the bejesus out of me. I don't know if I want people to know about my private spiritual world. They
Mm-hmm.
think of me as a TV producer or a filmmaker. I
Right.
don't want to tell them that I talk to my higher self. I don't want to tell them I do meditation. They'll
Right.
think I'm out of my mind. I went through that for a while, for about a month
Sure.
and a half. I fought my higher self saying, mm-mm.
Sure. It's I always say, it's not me, it's the voices in me, right?
That's a good, it's not me, it's just the voices that have, well,
Right.
that's what happened. The voices needed to come out. So
Right.
I ended up writing my first book. And
Mm-hmm.
it really, I call it sort of a cliff notes of how to stay conscious while
Mm-hmm.
you're in the process of losing, whether it's losing a job, losing a person, losing a relationship, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you can stay conscious and grow while you're in pain,
Mm-hmm.
which is what I did because I kept doing my meditations during my grief, doing my homework on myself. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of a cliff notes on how to stay conscious when you're losing someone or something. It's a short little book, it's very
Yeah.
thin, so you can read it 3 to 4 pages. Each chapter's 3 to 4 pages.
Mm-hmm.
You can put it to the side, go, well, where am I controlling? Because I talk
Mm-hmm.
about controlling, like Robin was trying to control things. You can't control things when you have cancer. You just can't.
Right. Right.
So I
It's
said,
out of
well,
your,
where do
yeah.
I do that? Yeah, exactly. Where
Yeah.
do I control?
Right.
So I would look in my life where, okay, I control when I'm frightened.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I did, it's really a cliff note. So,
Mm-hmm.
but
Cliff knows
wow,
how to get there. Yeah.
yeah, it's something
Yeah.
to share your real life with people versus your fiction.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting you said that because, like, I started writing after my first long-term relationship that I had, and I was just trying to grieve over the pain of losing someone right close to you. So I started writing my book that I basically have published today or recently.
Well,
Um,
congratulations. First of all,
well,
let's not
thanks.
miss that. Congratulations.
Thank you,
Okay.
thank you. Well, so yeah, I wrote the book years ago when I was in my 20s at the time. But I mean, I was initially writing it because it's just part of healing, right? Just
Oh, yeah.
trying to get my emotions and stuff out of the way, just to write. So I found that as a way to kind of heal through the pain. But I didn't come back to it until recently. More recently when I finally decided I'm going to sit down and write it, do it, get it over with. Got to have an accomplishment, like you said earlier. You got to have a dream,
Got to have a dream because
right?
I don't know how people live without dreams. Somebody goes, well, why do you need a dream? Well, what am I doing on the planet if I'm not here to achieve something for
Mm-hmm.
myself and for others? I've always been a dreamer.
Mm-hmm.
Even in junior high, let's throw a dance. So I'd produce a dance. You got to have a dream.
Right.
And it's scary when you lose your dreams. And I know it was important because I
Mm-hmm.
needed to do my homework and I needed to lose the dreams I had so I could open up to the nonfiction world that I was going to start writing in. So I needed that time frame, but you got to have dreams. And even though you
Mm-hmm.
wrote it in your 20s,
Mm-hmm.
how you're looking at the book now through your new eyes, your older
Mm-hmm.
eyes, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure it's much different book now.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely different. But at the same time, when I wrote the stuff down, that helped me remember what I wanted to write when I rewrote it down the
Right.
road. Yeah, exactly. A lot of people say, "Well, how do you remember all this stuff? Don't you remember? Do you have to remember?" I go, "Yes and no." But at the same token, I wrote a lot of stuff down prior to this. Like even prior to writing the book, when I was a teenager, I used to write stuff down on a calendar, one of my daily calendars from school.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Kind of
when I
journaling on your calendar.
Yeah,
Okay.
kind of like journaling, like, oh, this event happened on this day. And then I would refer back to things like that to remember, well, yeah, I remember that incident. I remember this little
Mm-hmm.
encounter and stuff like that. So I would write things like as references, right? Research, right? I even went back as far as to go back to my years, high school yearbooks to remember people.
Oh, you did.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, to remember things, right? Like it's like me. You start look. I started looking at the yearbooks. I'm like, oh my god, I remember now. I remember something now, and that's what I want to write about. Right? You know what I mean? So it's just like
Well, let me ask you, what is your book about?
it's about a character I created named Gianni Martino. I basically based him off of me myself. So it's a fictional character, but I took a lot of my own personality and characteristics and my
Of
own
course,
personal,
yeah.
and created a story, right, about a man looking for love to settle down, get married and have a family. Well, you know, he thought he was going in that direction. He was dating someone. Everyone thought they were getting married. Everyone thought, oh, this is the couple. They're going to get married. Everyone thought it, right? And then it didn't happen. So then he struggles after that to try to find that one special person to settle down with. And that's what the book is about. So yeah, so I heard that, someone said you have to love yourself first before you can love someone else.
I totally agree with that. And I think most people tend to look to they look for their self-love in other people, which is a big mistake. Well, I'll feel lovable when somebody loves me.
Mm-hmm.
I'll feel worthy when somebody makes me feel worthy. I'll feel
Mm-hmm.
valuable when somebody says I'm valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the opposite of self-love. Self-love is knowing you are worthy of love, knowing you matter and are valuable, knowing you are good enough just the way you are. That's the basis of self-love, but people tend to want to get it from other people.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I think women tend to do that, maybe even a little. I think men tend to do that through their jobs, and women tend to do it in relationships, but both are wrong
Right.
because jobs are going to shift around and change.
Mm-hmm.
Relationships are going to change. And
Mm-hmm.
self-love is based on the belief that you are worthy of love, you're valuable, and you're good enough. I mean, that
Mm-hmm.
is the basis of self-love.
Right.
So I definitely think people tend to do it the opposite way. And
Right.
then they wake up when they're 40 and they say, well, why am I feeling so? Well, you're feeling so because you don't love yourself. Or maybe you just divorced your wife or your husband. And now you're
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh, now I got to find somebody else to love me. Then I'll feel worthy again." You need to feel that before you fall in love with somebody. Because then that's
Right.
the cherry on the
Mm-hmm.
sundae when somebody
Mm-hmm.
loves you versus
Right.
saying, I got it. That I
Right.
totally agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've never really thought I've had a problem with, understanding and feeling love, loving myself, because I've always felt like I have a certain, level of expectations or what I'm looking for. And I know exactly what I have to offer. Right. So it's not like, it's like, I gotta find. To me, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna find love when it's time. Right. When it happens, it happens.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. That I think is, but like you said, you already love yourself, so that's a plus. And we can always grow in our self-love. I will add that. I love myself, but I can get even more loving to myself. So I
Mm-hmm.
keep expanding it, pushing the box out, making it bigger and bigger and bigger. Because I
Mm-hmm.
think most of us live in a very tight little box.
I think
Um,
so. And
and
a lot of people have walls up, to protect themselves from getting hurt again. And a lot of people are, afraid to love because they've been hurt.
Well, and also I think to get a little spiritual, if you don't mind, I
Mm-hmm.
think we have belief systems that we have in place that keep us in a small box.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps our parents taught us these beliefs, perhaps religious people or our teachers or whoever,
Mm-hmm.
and we end up living within this box that we think is the truth because somebody
Mm-hmm.
told us it was. And we
Mm-hmm.
never ask ourselves, what do I really believe? Do I believe this? Because
Mm-hmm.
I had to look at all my beliefs and I had some wacky beliefs that I
Mm-hmm.
thought, well, this is keeping me too small, keeping
Mm-hmm.
the universe too small. So I had to push the box bigger. So I think looking at our beliefs is another way to grow in self-love because you can love yourself, but maybe you're in a smaller box. You need to expand your beliefs, make them bigger, more fully loving, more joyful, so you can experience a bigger world versus I got to protect myself from being hurt.
Right.
Well, you got some self-love to work to do there to begin with, because we're all going to be up and down. But if you're worried about getting hurt, you need to do a little self-love work.
Right.
I would look at your
Right.
beliefs as well. I think that's another good lesson towards self-love.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, you've written two books. You said you're working on a third one.
Yeah, I wrote How Learning to Say Goodbye Taught Me a Lift, the cliff notes of how to stay conscious. The
Right.
second book, The Heart of the Matter, which I would rename 1,000 times because there's a million books called The Heart of the Matter. Oh, I would rename it. That's basically the work I did to get to self-love. So somebody who wants to do meditations or ask themselves the questions or look at beliefs, that book is a book for them.
Mm-hmm.
And the third book I think I'm going to write is, I don't know the title, don't have any of that information yet. It has not dropped into my head, but is a book of inspiration. And it's inspiration based on self-love,
Yeah.
such as a perseverance, We all have perseverance. Some of us need to bump it up a bit, but we all have these different inspirational things within us that I discovered while working on self-love.
Hmm.
So I think the book will be maybe 52 weeks of inspiration. And they'll be like, laughter is an inspiration. That's one of the inspirations I talked about. Laughter, it lifts your resonance, keeps you light, keeps you
Hmm.
lighthearted. Perseverance, I already talked about. So there's different things that I talk about in inspiration than just a word.
Right.
Empty your cup. You got to empty your cup in order to learn new things. If your cup is full, you're not going to be willing to learn anything new.
Right.
That's inspiration. So it'd be about 52 weeks of inspiration and just be a little, won't be meditations, won't be deep spiritual work for anybody. I'm not going to scare people off. Just be inspiration that we all can connect to within ourselves.
Gotcha. Yeah, it sounds interesting. I mean, I think a lot of people just need to take the time just to, read and just understand what they're doing wrong or what they should be focusing on to get to a
I,
better, tomorrow.
I think reading, you're definitely right. People need to read more. I think people need to ask themselves questions.
Hmm.
I think they need to be on self-discovery a lot more because people tend to like to blame other people for their lives
Yep.
versus saying, how did I create this? Did my
Right.
beliefs participate in this creation? Did my actions create this situation? That's called self-discovery, learning about yourself. And
Hmm.
I don't think enough people do enough self-discovery because I meet them and I think, boy, you need to do some homework.
Right.
You're blaming everybody for what's wrong in your life and you're
Right.
not taking any responsibility.
Right. I came across I had been friends with a group of friends for many years, and I was blind to the fact that they were very toxic. Like,
Your friends,
yeah, they were very toxic around. Every time you were around them, they were just like complaining and whining and blaming and pointing the finger. Like, I was always like a very, they say there's
upbeat person, I
optimist,
would presume.
a what?
Upbeat.
Yeah, upbeat, optimistic.
Hmm.
You know what they say, the glass is half full. I say the glass is full.
Okay. You're very optimistic.
Right.
It's not half full, it is full.
Full,
Okay.
right? Because why should I think of it as being half full? I want a
Yeah.
full glass, right? So I'm a very optimistic person, happy go lucky kind of guy, and it's just like people would just whine and complain. It's just like, stop. It's like, what are you complaining about? This is just too much drama, and so it wasn't until I started, when I realized what was going on around me about them being as toxic as they were, when I finally started accomplishing my personal goals, because I got them out of my system, I got them out of my way, and now no one was stopping me or discouraging me from trying to pursue what
Hmm.
I wanted to do. So,
Well, I'm glad you figured them out because we all have them. In your 20s, we're all kind of wacky in our 20s
yeah,
anyway.
right,
That's just
right,
typical. But when you hit 30 and you're still hanging out with the people who are toxic, you got to
right,
ask why.
yeah,
My main issue was angry people. That was one of my life lessons in this lifetime was angry people.
hmm,
I had anger in my family through my sister. She would go from 0 to 100 and come for you, just whoa, rip you to shreds. And
hmm,
you could barely move after she just, and then I would draw a friend that would go from 0 to 60 and come for you. So I knew that
hmm,
my life lesson was how to deal with anger people, how to deal with angry people, how to
hmm,
not take it onto myself. Because I kept taking on my sister's anger. What did I do wrong? What am I, why am I pissing her off so much? I took it
hmm,
all on me when it really was about her.
hmm.
And I also know I set it up to learn about self-love. So she played her role very well. She played it extremely well. But you, like you said, your toxic friends. I had angry friends. Not
Hmm.
all my friends, but I always had one person who would be
Sure.
angry and come for you. And now I don't take it on. I don't
Hmm.
take it on. If they're angry, I think, well, that's their issue, not
Hmm.
mine. And
Hmm.
it was a good life lesson because I used to take it on.
Hmm.
My mother took it on, and I think that's why she got her cancer, to be honest with you.
Wow.
She, yeah, well, she took my sister's anger a lot, and we
Hmm.
tried to calm her down. And and what can I do better? It was always what
Hmm.
can mom do better? Well, what does your daughter need to do better?
Right.
Uh, so I think getting rid of toxic people is a good thing. It shows that you're
Hmm.
growing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Congratulations.
thank you. I mean, like I said, it's like, in fact, I even ran into someone new. I met someone who's just also, like trying to like, like not calm me down, but just kind of get in the way of things. It's just like, okay, you know what? I got rid of people in my life that were holding me back. I don't need you in my life either. So I'm moving forward. So goodbye, like
So you
get
have
out of my
good
way.
boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have good boundaries. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it keeps the people where they need to be,
Yeah.
out of your
Exactly.
range.
Right. Right. Hey, I say it this way, I've always had this model, my own personal model is you want to be my friend and hang out with me, that's great. You don't like me, you don't want to be around me, that's fine too.
Yeah, just don't be near me.
Yeah,
That's what,
exactly.
you don't like
Exactly.
me, then don't be my friend and get out of my
Exactly.
face.
Get out of my way. Just get out of my way so I can move forward and do what I need to do to accomplish what I need to do to make myself happy and everyone else around me, because at the end of the day, you know, I don't want to say we're selfish, but you got to be happy, right?
Oh, I don't think it has to do with, I think self-love is opposite of selfish. Selfish is, it's all about me and nobody else matters. And it's all, let me get everything I can get. If that's self-love is, you got to take care of yourself first, love
Mm-hmm.
yourself first, and then you can open your arms to receive other people.
Right.
Uh, Two different energies, selfish and self-love.
Right. Yeah.
Selfish, I know selfish people. You can
Yeah.
spot them a mile away. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
you're
It's all
selfish.
about them. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Egotistical,
self-love is,
selfish. Mm-hmm.
yeah, self-love is a whole much more uplifting energy, much more heart opening energy. And I
Mm-hmm.
think we need a lot more of it. We need a
Mm-hmm.
lot less blamers, people
Mm-hmm.
blaming people. And they basically, when you're a bully, you're lacking self-love. That's what I learned from my sister. She was a bully, but when I did my homework, I realized because she was lacking self-love. So she would strike out at other people. When I got that little click in my head, I went, oh,
Mm.
bullies, they're not there. That's not that they're so powerful. They're in so much pain. They want to cause you pain. And that
Well,
was like, whoa, okay. So
well,
I
there's
looked,
that. Yeah, I was going to say there's that expression, misery loves company.
yeah, yeah. So, whether it's political people who are
Mm-hmm.
blaming people
Mm-hmm.
or private people who are blaming people,
Right.
when they are blaming you and bullying you, big words,
Mm-hmm.
bullying, because people are afraid of bullies. And, my mother was a bit afraid of my sister, so I would always step in there. I'll
Mm-hmm.
stand between.
Mm-hmm.
But bullies, they got more pain than you do.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're hitting you or screaming at you or something.
Right.
Once
Right.
you get that little click, and I wish some people in the politics would get that little click and go, oh, okay, we don't need
Yeah.
to be afraid of a bully. We don't need bullies.
Right. It's interesting when I have to look back on something with what you just said about bullies and people, because I think that might explain something about someone I used to know.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you, and
Yeah.
people can say it, but until I got it in meditation
Yeah.
and it just clicked,
Yeah.
I thought, of course, I'm
Right.
dealing with my pain, but how much pain must she have
Right.
to be
Right.
striking out at us? Oh my word! So
Right.
I think maybe your friend, you're thinking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
was in a lot of pain. Doesn't mean they
Yeah.
have the right to do it to you. They
No,
do
I
not
know.
have the right to attack you,
Right. Right.
but at
But
least you
it was
know.
right. It wasn't just me. I mean, that person I'm thinking of was a bully to everybody.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I know that. I know those
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Bless me, I know them well.
Yeah. So you're working on the third. You're in Texas now, correct? You're
Yeah,
still
I'm
in
still in
Texas?
Texas. My mom left me her house, so I thought, well, I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just stay here, as long as I can. Got another couple of years, and then I'll see where I want to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. I quit making plans because the universe, like I said, if the universe had told me I'd go from being a TV producer and doing films and living in New
Mm-hmm.
York to doing a 180-degree turn, living in Texas and writing nonfiction books, I'd say,
Yeah.
no, you're out of your
Right.
mind.
Right.
So I don't make plans anymore. I say, I don't know where I'm going to be in 2 years.
Gotcha. Go with the flow. So
Go
so
with the
maybe
flow.
go with the flow. So maybe in a couple of years you might be producing films again. Who knows, right?
Who knows? I mean, as long as
Right.
I'm on this planet, I will be dreaming and going for my dreams. Whether they happen or not, I will go for them.
Okay. So is
And I
there
think
any?
people need to do that. Let me just say this real clear. People
Yeah.
need to go for their dreams and not worry whether they get them. Just go for them.
Uh-huh.
The
Okay.
going for them that expands your life, not always receiving the final payoff.
Right. the final payola.
Yeah, the payola. If you're looking for the payola, it's not that big of a dream then, really. That has more with greed, but that's a whole
Right,
different conversation.
right. Okay. So is there anything else you want to discuss as far as anything you got upcoming, or you have a radio show, you said?
Yeah, I do a radio show called Spiritual Common Sense. Uh, I interview authors, so don't be surprised if I call you.
Be happy to
Since
come
you've got
on.
a book coming. I interview authors. The first half, I'd say I interview the author, and then the second half is one segment is inspiration. That's where
Yeah.
I got the idea. That's my favorite section of the whole radio show is the inspiration section. And then the last section is your spiritual homework. Sometimes it matches the inspiration. Like I
Hmm.
just did self-appreciation. So I said, now your homework this month is self-appreciation. And then I give how I did and stuff like that. But it's a good little show. I only do it once a month because I
Hmm.
also work because I got to
Hmm.
work. So I do my job from the house, luckily. But I do it once a month and it's quite fun. And
Yeah.
they can go to healthylife.net, go to shows and scroll down on Monday and they'll see my name and they can go to the archives and listen to all my shows. But basically, I'm working on the third book slowly. I mean, I'm just because I'm working 9 to 5 at this point, and
Sure,
it feels
sure.
like 9 to 5, but it's really more like 8 to 4. But doing that. But I'm going to be working on the third book. I'm doing my radio show, staying open to what the universe is pointing me towards.
Right.
Want to do that. I'm still trying to get my second book. I'm trying to add my own story in there about how to deal with bullies because the book sort of talks about how I found self-love. Well, the reason I had to find self-love is my sister took it away from me,
Hmm.
which was part of the game plan. So she did her job very, very well.
Okay.
And so I ended up finding it again. So I'm kind of still want to rewrite my personal story within that, the Heart of the
Hmm.
Matter book.
Okay.
But, we'll see
Okay.
what happens.
Yeah. So we're both published, authors at this point, and we all know that there's a lot of stuff that goes on for authors and whatnot, the crazy publishing world, as they call it. Um, what advice would you give a young author, or not a young author, but any author
Any
that's
author, yeah, because I
up and
wasn't that
coming?
young when I
Yeah.
started writing books.
Right. Any upcoming author that may not have been published yet or thinking about writing, what advice would you give them as far as like writing or what to look out for after they've actually written their book?
Okay, I got a couple of things. The first thing is off the top of my head is don't wait for anybody to give you permission. If you want to write a book, write a book. And if you don't have a publisher, then go to Amazon and put it up. In
Hmm.
other words, I'm one of those people, like I didn't want to wait for somebody to hire me doing plays, so I put plays on and ended up doing 2 off-Broadway plays. Do not wait for somebody to give you permission to publish your book. Write your book, and if nobody will publish it, put it up.
Hmm.
I would just say do that. But as far as what you need to do is I would be careful with if you're going to be writing a book, you need to put a certain amount of money aside for marketing. You got to have enough money to do some marketing because you're going to get the word out about it. You can't just do
Hmm.
Facebook. You got to get some interviews. You got to get some hopefully television interviews, that sort of. So I put some money aside to market your
Hmm.
book, and I would be careful. I would compare publishing deals. If you're going to self-publish, I would compare self-publishing deals because there's different deals, and some of them can rake you over the coals, so to speak. Well, other ones are quite open and say, we'll do this and this, and that sounds good to me. I
Hmm.
went through Balboa Press because it was with Hay House, and I was
Hmm.
writing a spiritual book, and Hay House is the biggest spiritual publisher around. So I went
Hmm.
through Balboa Press, who Hay House owns. So they helped me in that sense. So depending what you're writing, just compare your publishing offerings.
Hmm.
Don't wait for permission.
Hmm.
And have enough money to do some marketing. That's really important because I
Right.
did have some money put aside, so I did do some marketing. So I did
Hmm.
podcasts, I did radio shows, I did television, and that
Hmm.
helped. That's much more helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's the main thing. I think like what I've noticed as an author is when I start telling somebody about my book, it's like, oh, you have a book? Oh, let me buy it. It's like, okay. And a lot of time it is just a word, it is sometimes a word of mouth, like
Mm-hmm.
spreads. So one thing I learned is you need a very good following. Social media is definitely helpful.
Yes, you are totally. That was a mistake I made in the beginning because I was brand new to this when I first wrote my first book. I didn't even have social media.
Right.
I was like, I'm not doing Facebook. I'm not doing that stuff.
Right.
Like, well, I should have been doing that stuff. Well, now I do it, of course, and I bumped it up, but it took me a while. You're completely right. You need to have your social media up and running. Have as many followers, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. You need to have enough followers because it took me a while. Now I'm kind of up there. So it's like nice, but it took me a few years.
Right.
I was like, I'm not going to do this. Well, not to do it. So you're completely right. Social media is vital.
That is how we connected. We connected through LinkedIn.
Yes, LinkedIn. Yes. Yeah. And I went to a publisher who was going to do my second book with somebody. We're still kind of talking. And he goes, well, how's your social media? I said, well, it's better than it was. I said, it's growing.
Right.
And I just started Instagram when I talked to him, like literally maybe 3 months before. I said, it's kind of growing. So it is bumping up now. I'm to like, I think 5,000. It's like, okay, that's better. Because I was up to 300 people. I was like, I don't have 300 people.
That's good. I mean,
you are completely right. Social media is vital.
Yeah, it is vital. And like I said, and if I can get as many authors to be connected with, that is very helpful as well, because you never know who, someone that's connected to them might see something that will click or something that makes a good
partnership. And I think LinkedIn is a good connection. I like LinkedIn because I connect with authors. Like you said, you found me through there. Right. I like that one a lot. Yeah. Facebook, I just post and do my book postings and that kind of thing. But LinkedIn's pretty good. Yeah.
I'm not a fan of Twitter as much as and Facebook, like you said, just because it just seems like there's a lot of, I don't want to say
I just do the ads.
Yeah.
I just do the ads for Facebook. I do the spiritual ads because mine's a spiritual book, so I do the ads. I like TikTok. And I do like Instagram. Instagram. That's kind of a fun place to do it. But you got to have them all. If you want to be published and you want to get a publisher, you got to have them all. They want to know how many followers do you have?
Right.
On Facebook, on Instagram, on TikTok, on LinkedIn, maybe. LinkedIn, I think maybe they ask. So you got to have some followers, people. Yeah. Completely right about that.
Yeah, my publishers have been building up my social sites. I've been building up my YouTube and my own LinkedIn site myself personally. So I've been doing that myself, but they've been helping out with the Instagram and the Twitter.
That's good.
Yeah, and the website as well.
Now, who's your publisher?
Woodbridge.
Okay, I know them. Yeah.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah, they're out in New York.
Yeah, that's a good thing. Good. I'm glad they're building. That's a good thing. Yeah.
So, if someone would like to get your book, where can they go?
Well, they can go to Amazon.com and you can, the Heart of the Matter is a tricky one because there'll be 1,000 books before mine, but you can type in my name, Joffre, Joffre, and then MCC, and it should bring up my 2 books. And they're at Barnes & Noble, Amazon. You can also go to my website, Massimo, which is JoffreMcClung.com, or you can just type in ITS allaboutselflove.com and you'll go to my website. It's allaboutselflove.com. And I have links there. You can go and purchase my books, which is a little easier than Amazon for the Heart of the Matter because it's a tough book to find.
Yeah, I actually
title your books. Title your books well. That's the big lesson I learned. You asked me that you talked about social media.
Yeah.
Title your books well because once you title it, it's hard to change it. You can change it.
Yeah.
But it's difficult.
Yeah, actually, I was told that my book, Desire for Love, I call it. They said, "Oh, that's a great title." So I was told it was a great title. Like, okay, good. I don't
Did you check it on Amazon?
Yeah, everything was checked. Everything.
All right, because I didn't.
Yeah,
because I was so fresh and new to the publishing world. I was a filmmaker.
You didn't check to see if there were other titles, right?
So I didn't check. Always the Heart of the Matter. Oh, I mean, there's 30 books called The Heart of the Matter. Yeah. I did not check it. So
well, I mean, my publisher was, when I submitted it, my publisher, I would have hoped they would have said, you know what, there's a lot of titles of that name, same title. I would have hoped they would have come back and said, no, you might want to use a different name, or
no, that's smart. Yeah. Well, see, I was doing Balboa and I was kind of chose my own name.
Yeah, I got you. So yeah, but I actually did find your title, but I think it's because I used your name when I was
My
searching for
name
it.
is the easiest way.
Yeah,
But they
that's
can go to
easiest.
my website. It's all
Yep.
about selflove.com, ITS, allaboutselflove.com.
Yep.
And they can get those 2 books.
So
And they
yeah,
can find my blogs too there.
yeah. Well, and my video that I'm posting will have your links as well as my links
Okay.
for your books and your website. So, and those that are watching, thank you for watching. And if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, please do so. So that way, you never know, Joffrey might come back again, once he gets third book completed. And, that way you get alerted that, a new interview will be posted, because that's what I plan to do, is posting more of these interviews like I did today with Joffrey. And my channel is growing, so you got join them now. It's getting hot, and we'll be bringing you guys more authors and other types of not celebrities, but different types of guests, musicians and writers and so forth. Just different genres of topics that we're just gonna be entertaining everyone here. And like I said, please subscribe, like my channel. And I appreciate you being here today, Joffrey. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me. It was quite fun, and I wish you nothing but the best with your YouTube channel. Hope it explodes.
It's gonna explode. We will. I know you'll help me. Thank you, Joffrey.
Oh, thank you so much.
So, if you are connected on my social media sites, contact me directly to make an appearance on the MPP Power Hour. Hurry while there are still spots available. Don't forget to smack those buttons to subscribe and like my video. Thank you for watching.